Back up, sir.
This is gonna do something.
Set back up. Go back up. Set back up. Watch out, officer!
This year has shown me a lot. I honestly don't even know where to begin. It's just never in a million years would I have imagined that we would be here. Because 5 to 10 years ago, who would have thought that in the year 2020, the start of a brand new decade, the beginning of a technological renaissance, some would even call it, that we would be living through a literal plague, protesting for civil rights, and basically in a cold war with Russia and communist China. Oh, not to mention aliens are apparently real. It's just no one in their right mind could have ever imagined that some of the events that have happened this year sound like news headlines from the 1960s. Trust me, I looked it up. It's just although this year has been far from how I envisioned it, I invite you to journey with me to see this year simply as I saw it. And what began as seemingly a normal year, 2020 started with a ton of promise. As with most people, I would assume, I had a lot of goals, plans, and opportunities that I had every intention of capitalizing on. I left 2019 with the resolve to go full-time with SpareTimeFootage. I wanted to begin to work on creating films, documentaries, and just sharing the stories of local people within the community making a difference. It was like I had found my purpose. I went from working a dead-end job to being in a boardroom documenting a CEO. Then not to mention going to Cali for a couple weeks, and that was a bucket list item I'd add. During this trip though, is really when 2020 started to get weird. While I was being captivated with some of the dopest scenery I'd ever seen, news stories were going crazy with talks about this mysterious virus from China. Not long after getting back from California due to the virus, Ohio went into a full lockdown, closing bars, restaurants, and anything deemed non-essential, along with many other states across the U.S. And this is the result. Seemingly right after the lockdown protests were the unjust deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, resulting in protests that took place worldwide, including here in downtown Columbus over the course of several days. I understand. I understand why we march, why we fight, why we protest. America, I also understand your silence, your loud, deafening silence. Your refusal to acknowledge what is plainly set before you, because in your mind, to acknowledge it means they win and we lose. In your mind, the core values in which you say this country was founded on only applies to those who pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, with no consideration of those of whom you robbed of their shoes. I understand. I understand that you choose to not see me as equal. I understand. I understand that in your mind, nothing I could say or do would ever change how you have chosen to feel about me in your heart. I understand that you have chosen to not listen, to not show solidarity, to not change. I understand that you have made your decision, but understand this, I have made mine. I stand with my brothers and sisters, both those that share my skin and don't. If you stand with me, I stand with you. I understand your pain, and I choose to not let you stand alone. Being there in the midst of history, I couldn't help but be inspired. It really changed the course of the year for me, as things presumably got back to normal. Well, at least normal with a caveat, one that surprisingly worked well in our favor. How, one might ask? Time. COVID-19 was beginning to reshape society and how we interact, but it also slowed things down, drastically, which obviously hurt in many ways, but allowed for creators to create, which is more than I can ask for. While continuing to push the bounds of my own creativity, protests for various reasons were continuing to happen around the city.
Save our children! 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 I am not for sale! Save our children! I am not for sale! I am not for sale!
If there is anything that can be learned from this year, it would be how to adapt. From adapting to having your entire calendar of booked events wiped off or in question because of gathering limitations, to creating a completely different stream of business due to said limitations. Either way, I was learning a lot, not only about myself, but those around me as well. From several more short films to behind the scenes, my understanding of what I wanted to create and how was finally becoming clear. It's one thing to know how to point a camera, but it's another to know where to point it in the most impactful way. To know how to draw emotion out of your subject, or to create a mood using space and lighting. More than anything, I was learning that I just didn't want to be good at this. I just didn't want to be okay at sharing the story of someone's engagement, wedding, or anything for that matter in a mediocre way. And I strongly believe that it was that mindset that really pushed me throughout this year. Diamonds are formed under immense heat and pressure. I think there is a diamond that is hidden deep within each and every one of us, that is formed by the immense heat and pressures of everyday life. It becomes our responsibility to mine those diamonds by pushing through the internal struggles that we all deal with on a personal level. And 2020 for some, it brought that forth. And for others, unfortunately, are still mining, searching deep within themselves for purpose.
Hey, that was my brother. My daughter was in the house, man. Justice for Casey, man. It's real, man.
Ultimately, what we've witnessed this year has been a turning point. A turning point for life as we know it. Even now, after the U.S. being in complete upheaval because of the racial tension, nothing has seemed to have changed. Even here in Columbus, we witnessed the death of 2 more unarmed African American males, only a couple weeks apart from each other. If nothing else, this year has shown that people are on edge. We are facing historic situations with never seen consequences. But yet, in an odd way, I'm hopeful. I am hopeful because I'm able to say that I lived through history. I was able to document and share the story of so many people, while also being able to understand my story and how it impacts the world. I think so often we get caught up in only seeing things from one angle or one point of view that it clouds our ability to have empathy and connect with others. Especially now, during a time where technology is pretty much replacing most human contact. We've lost our ability to feel, and because we don't ever see ourselves in someone's position, we don't consider what they may go through. But we are all mining, searching for some sort of purpose in life, and would be remiss to disregard others in the midst of that search.